Hello and greetings to all our listeners. We hope you're doing well with your health, and we also hope that you're making a good progress in your career based on the tips and information you have been receiving from this channel. To help you even further, we are bringing this new series of how to make an impressive resume. Here, you'll get to know the tips on resume writing. You'll understand how to make a resume that gains employers' attention, and you will also understand how to make your resume more impressive and stand out in the competition. So the series is made up of 4 different videos. The first one focuses on resumes for freshers. Here we are defining freshers who have 0 to 1 years of experience, including the students who are in their final year. Most of the times during placement drives or immediately after placement drives, during off-campus interviews, students and freshers do get a lot of issues, a lot of questions. What should be content of my resume? What should I write? What chronology I should use? How long should the resume be? Are there any standard templates? Many such questions come to freshers' mind, and we are providing answers to all those questions in our first video, resumes for freshers. The second video focuses on resumes for mid-level technical people, people who are between 3 years to 12 years of experience level will get benefited from this. The aspects like how to show multitudes of technology skills, how to bring out your experience and expertise, how to bring out your career progression from say developer to designer to tech lead and things like that. Multiple such aspects are covered in resumes for mid-level. The third video focuses on senior level resumes. There is a special aspect that you need to bring in senior level resumes. The experience level discussed here is 12 plus years, and typically these are the people who work into the bid management areas. So what are the management aspects that you need to bring out? What are the planning and mitigation aspects, risk planning aspects that you need to bring out? What are the customer stakeholder areas that you need to specifically mention and emphasize in your resume? Those are the aspects which are being covered here. And then the last video covers all the important considerations which are common to every level or every stage. These important considerations spans into multiple areas, and the video will give you more information on how do you ensure that when there is a chatbot or when there is an automated way of scrutinizing, filtering resume, what you need to write for the subject or topic matching. There are multiple aspects which will be considered and will be elicited in this common to all fourth video. So from this, now we will jump on to this specific video. But before we do that, we want to indicate that for all such good information, to keep receiving such good updates, please do subscribe to the channel and ensure that you are not missed out on any important information. So guys and girls, let's begin with our first video in the series, which focuses on resume for freshers or students. Many of you have posted your queries. We have answered some of those queries, but it is very common for a fresher to get confused or to have a lot of questions on what should be there in a resume, how to make a good resume. And we have compiled most of these questions here. Based on the answers that we have been posting, we have also added a lot more specific information based on your questions and to give you a good insight on how to make a good fresher's resume. First of all, we want to tell all of you that first resume is not easy for anybody. All of us have gone through the same pain and same issue that you have been going through. In some cases, the colleges, institutes or universities help you with a standard format, but in most of the cases, that standard format is not well accepted by the industry. So the issues that you are facing are not unique. They have been faced by every generation. And another point we also want to highlight that these are not only for engineering student. Most of our discussion will be around engineering student resume, but this is equally applicable to most of the other branches and most of the other faculties also. So what are the issues which are typically faced by a fresher while thinking about creating a resume, the first question that comes to your mind is, when should I create my resume? Should it be too early, too late? What is the right timing for creating a resume or writing a resume? Then, what all should I include in my resume? Are there any specific sections? How do I know my resume is complete and I'm not missing on any section? Then, a very important question is, what is the sequence or order of the sections? What should be the chronology that should be used within that particular section? Another key question is, if you have this doubt that I don't have any experience because I'm a fresher, now how can I write anything in the section called past experience or anything that expects me to write my past work experience? There are restrictions on number of pages, of course not on the number of words, and we will also indicate what is a best practice used in industry and most of the good universities on what should be the length and restriction on number of words or number of pages that you should put in your resume. More than anything else, the freshers nowadays would like to know how to very quickly create a new resume. So people keep looking and asking us that, are there any samples, are there any ready-made formats where I just populate my information and boom, the resume is complete. So are there any such situations where you can get a resume very quickly from ready-made formats? Another question that keep up is it a same format that is used by all the applicants, all the employers? The answer to this question, or a quick answer to this question, is no, it's not the same format. That's the reason, even if your university has given you any particular format to comply to, even if you have created your resume based on your senior or any elder brother, elder sister's guidance, please do watch this video to understand what are the specific formats to making a good resume. More than anything else, people who have already created their resume, they have applied in one or two places, they keep thinking and they keep wondering on how do they make these resumes stand out and get more attention. So having seen all the questions that will pop up in your mind and having looked at the issues that you may face while creating your first resume, let's go over some basic information. The first bullet shows the typical contents of any resume. So your resume will have your professional skills. If you have worked in past, it will have your work experience. Your educational details are a very important part of your resume, and so is the certifications that you might have done, internal or external certifications. Your achievements and awards should be mentioned in your resume. You should include personal information, it is a must, so that people can contact you. And from contacting perspective, 4 pieces of information are mandatory. You should have your full name, not the abbreviation, full name. You should have your email ID. You should have your cell phone contact number and the cell phone that is working. And then you should also mention your city and state. There's no specific need for you to mention detailed address unless and otherwise specified. In addition to that, there is no need for you to mention your PAN number or your passport number or anything of that sort. You may want to include, it's an optional thing, but you may want to include your social link, which is either LinkedIn link or your LinkedIn profile or your Facebook profile page. But these are not mandatory. Then let's move on to the purpose of a resume. A fresher can create a resume just before applying for the first job. Do not keep your resume ready before very long time, or do not wait for the first job to get over to create your resume. It won't work. So too early is also not good, too late is also not good, because if you create it too early, you may have to update it before applying for the first job. So typically when people are in their final year, about to get graduated, that is when they create their first resume. Most of the engineering candidates will create their resume during their placement drive. In some cases, college gives a format, but in most of the cases, that format may not be a more suitable format. So some people who do not appear for placement drive for whatever personal and their interest reasons, they will create resume right after getting a degree. So these are the specific timings when people create their first resume or freshers resume. Think of your resume as your personal marketing tool. It should provide information so that you become a person who is wanted by the employer. It is a document that you show to a potential employer with the goal of selling yourself and your skills. So it is a document that you are giving to your prospective employer. It should be very concise, yet it should include all important information. When we say very concise, our suggestion is try not to go beyond one page for a resume. We will cover that in the best practices, but just a quick mention here that limit your first resume to only one page. What are the additional best practices that people can follow? Add specific pieces of information that are necessary in your resume. Use standard formats to make your resume complete. We will have detailed discussion on standard formats. There are specific formats that people use, and those formats are standardized. There are tools and there are other forms which help you quickly create a resume, and you can use that as a best practice. There is another best practice which may not be so applicable for the fresher, but we will still mention it here. Build your resume around a specific job description. In case of freshers, there is no specific job description. Most of the freshers undergo a common test during placement, but as and when you improve in your number of years of experience, when you become senior, it's more important for you to create a resume which is around your specific job description. And that's the reason this is a topic for our second video, which is around mid-level career resumes. Now, as we discussed in the previous slide, let's also understand what are the sections and contents of those sections within a fresher's resume. We discussed about personal information. So start filling up your resume by adding your personal information so that people can contact you. Full name is must, date of birth is essential, your email ID, your cell number, which is an active cell, is mandatory. You can include your address, which is primarily city and state. No need to have a detailed address, but it's left to you. It's also advisable to include your social link, which is like LinkedIn profile or Facebook page, but that's also not mandatory. As discussed in previous slide, do not include passport number or PAN card number unless specifically asked. After that, you can create a semi-section, or you can follow the personal information to indicate one or two lines of your career objective. So this goes in your personal information. Then comes an important section called employment history or work experience. One of the key questions that we keep getting every time is that as a fresher, I don't have any employment history, I don't have any work experience. And this is where you need to think a little differently. Our suggestion is that if you have done anything which can qualify as a work experience, as a employment type of experience, that you should include. We'll give some examples to explain this. You might have done some short-term industry courses or some industry experience you would have gathered between BE to ME. People usually join some organization and then they move for ME or MTech or MS. There are possibilities that people coming from diploma might have done 6 months or 1 year of experience before they join second year in engineering. So all that experience is also good to be included in a fresher's resume. If you have done any internship with industry, or if you have done anything on the job experience type of activity, it is very useful to mention it in the work experience. When you mention any of these things, how you should put them in the order, it should have a reverse chronology. That means your latest should come first, and the oldest should be in the end. The third and the most important aspect of your freshers uh, resume is your education details. The educations here indicate, the plural here indicates if you have done multiple degrees like BE plus MBA, BE plus MS, etc., or diploma plus BE. So it has education detail. Here you have to put name of university, college, course, year of passing percentage, CGPA, all that you are aware of. Please do mention any external certification courses that you would have completed. If you have taken up any certification exam or any certification course, for example, people complete Python or AI ML courses or any other courses that are appearing in college or college external area, people do take those courses. So if you have taken certifications for that, do mention that. Again, here an advice is whatever you mention should be in reverse chronology order. That is, latest should appear first and then oldest should go in the end. In addition to that, to make your CV or to make your resume a little more better, a little more attractive, you can add some custom sections. In custom sections, you can mention participation that you would have done in tech competitions like of Robocop or coding hunting things or coding competitions. Any events within college, externally to college that you would have arranged or participated, you can mention those. If you have taken any personal projects, including mini projects, including your final year BE project, please do include those things also. If you have done any volunteering work or any social contribution, custom section is a place to mention about that. Last but not the least is your skills and languages. Here the languages are the languages that you speak, not the computer languages. In the technical skills, you can mention all the skills related to your technology understanding. Here hardware, software and those type of things can come into play. Your languages, try to limit it to 3 only. Please indicate what is your mother tongue out of the 3 languages. So in the beginning we saw that there are some standard formats, and using a standard formats will help you in terms of making your resume complete and also giving a standard feel in what you have written compared to other students or other participants. So that's why it's important to know the resume formats. Typically people talk about 3 formats. On the left hand side you will see reverse chronological format. On the right hand side top you will see the functional CV format or functional resume format. The combination of these two, as you can see in the bottom part, is the combination format. Let's understand what are the differences between these 3 formats of resume. As you can see side by side, right, the reverse chronological and functional CV starts with full name, personal details. In addition to that, it talks about your professional title, what you're doing in your current organization, if you are experienced or if you have done some past job. It also talks about what was the job that you were performing or the role that you were performing. Again, the third piece of information is also similar, common to both the formats. You can mention your personal details, including contact details. The next one is a very short summary of who you are and what you are all about in context of the job description. So that becomes your personal profile, and in some cases people also add their job objective or career objective in this section. Now this is where the difference starts. A reverse chronological format has more importance on the previous employment, total experience and what all experience you have. Whereas the functional resume format has more emphasis on the skills that you have possessed or the skills that you have obtained. That's the reason after the common section in reverse chronological format you will see experience and employment history being mentioned, and in this functional format you will see skills being mentioned. In the reverse chronological format, that is followed by your educational qualifications and then it is followed by your skills. Whereas in the functional format, after skills you mention about your experience, employment history, because that is also somehow related to your skills, and then in the end you will talk about your education and qualifications. As the readers or listeners would have very well understood and very well guessed that for a freshers format, putting educational qualification detail in the end and bringing any other skill or experience on the top is not a good idea, which means the functional resume format will not be a good format for a freshers resume. Before we conclude on what should be the format, let's quickly go over what is the combinational format. In combinational format, first you mention about skill as well as qualification, and then you put employment history. You also mention and highlight the relevant skills which are specific to the job, and still you provide recruiter with the work history. So it is a combination because you are talking about skills as well as talking about your work history. And on the right hand side, as you can see, your full name, the sequence in case of combination format is your full name, then contact details, then skills, and then experience and employment history and education and qualification. So typically a combination format is the one that is most commonly used for multiple types of interviews, multiple stages of interviews. For fresher format, you can either choose reverse chronological or you can choose a combination format, left to you from your judgment or based on your need of that particular job. Here we have indicated a sample resume, and as you can see, there are some very interesting points which are mentioned in this sample resume. The person has mentioned name, what the person is doing or what the person's role has been, very brief about location, phone number and email ID. So not too much of space is wasted into giving what is the personal information. In the profile, the person has not only mentioned what the person is doing, but also mentioned what the person aspires to do, which is a very good practice. Another thing that stands out here is though the person does not have too much of experience, the employment history has been mentioned with student worker experience also, and this is what we had mentioned to you as a best practice or a practice to make your CV stand out, make your resume become more attractive. So do mention any work that you might have done as a student council member or as any independent student worker member. In core competencies, as you can see, along with the technical skills, the person has also mentioned some additional things. So C++ and Java are mentioned here as technical skills, but the person did not stop at that. The person also spoke about advanced analytical thinking skills, and this is a very good practice. This is a very good way to make your case more stronger, to create a resume which is more attractive. Similarly, the person has also indicated the software troubleshooting, which is more like a process or functional knowledge. Correct? So do not stop only at technical skills. Do mention some behavioral skills, do mention some additional points also. In the education, the person has just indicated the degree related things. At the same time, the person has indicated that the honorary student among top 5% in my year. So person has also indicated some selling points, and the way we saw in previous slide, resume is all about selling yourself and selling your skill, and that has been done very well here. In education area, the person has also mentioned some additional points, like the person has worked as head of student council for 2 years. The person has published an article, how cloud computing will change, etc., and that got published in the campus magazine within the college. And these good points or this sample will give you some indication that even if you have done many things, many times freshers do hesitate that should I put something that I have published in my college journal. It's okay to do mention that, because at a fresher level, people don't expect you to have a lot of additional points. So anything that you would have done based out of your interest, it's good to mention that. The last section here, volunteering work, indicates that you are socially aware person, and Adding any volunteer work is a good practice, and that helps you to make your resume stand out in the crowd. So having discussed some of these important points, let's also look at some important tips to make your resume even more impressive. One point we touched upon, that keep your resume to single page only. Remember that at a fresher level, the employers will have to go through a lot of resumes. So if your resume is 2 page, 3 page, etc., there will be less interest in reading every point. So you may miss out on your important areas that you want to vouch for. Make your education count. It is the center of a resume format for freshers. Do remember that at a fresher level, one of the most important point that you want to showcase is your education. List your qualifications in reverse chronological order. Include the degree, institution, expected or actual graduation year, etc. for each of the degrees, including the diploma. Include your class 12 and class 10 only if you don't have any relevant work experience, which means that this is your first resume as a completely fresher. For people with 6 months or 1 year experience, it's okay not to mention 10th or 12th. The practice in industry is up to 3 years. It is a good idea to have class 10th and 12th also mentioned, because that's your initial days. Add your CBSE equivalent results for your university studies. Give your CGPA. Add bullet points that expand on your academic performance and interests. Do not make it lengthy. Remember to keep it short, but also do not miss out on any important point that you feel like selling. Another very important aspect to make your resume more impressive is do not be shy. It is your attempt to sell your skills and your candidature. Sometimes people feel shy and they don't mention about participation in student council, participation in external or internal technical competitions, if they have spent any time with college events or any university level events, etc., or any volunteering work that they would have done. Adding all these points will carry some weightage, and it will make your profile more stronger. It will make your resume more complete. Do not be shy. Do add those points. One bottleneck that people face at a fresher level is they feel that since I don't have any experience, people may look at it as I don't have any skills, which is not true. So do not worry about this aspect. Include your experiences like internship, your summer projects or mini projects, your final year project. It does not mean that if you don't have industry experience, you don't have any skills. That is not the picture that industry carries about you. So don't worry about that aspect. Mention specific data points wherever possible. Do not keep the statements high level. So instead of saying that I developed in Java using Java, mention that I developed 250 lines of code in Java which has 6 classes, and the delivery of that code was 0 defect. There was no defect found, or there were only 2 minor defects found during testing. So mentioning some of these points in a short way makes it more data oriented and makes it more specific. This is a very important point to make your resume look more impressive at a fresher level. Another point that we have been mentioning is you can use the online templates wherever available to ensure that you are covering all the sections, and also it helps to ensure that you have followed all the best practices for creating a fresher's resume. You can write to us in the comment section, and we can provide you the specific links of online templates. There are many, but we have done a search for you to tell you which ones are more relevant for you in present scenario, in present market. So now a cheerful face here, because we are happy that we have answered all your queries related to making your resume impressive. You are happy because you have actually got answers to all the questions with which started. We have covered all the points in past few minutes. So with that, we have come to an end of this video, the first in the series. We wish you all the best for your first job, and we hope you get it in a very brief time. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel to get access to such important video and career option information. Along with it, we have always helped you with a lot of freebies like resources and material on the online domain. Do also ensure that you subscribe to our Facebook channel, Facebook page cop.channel.1. Wishing you all the very best. Do take care. Thank you.